Good morning, everybody. This is Grant checking in. Sorry about my microphone. It was way over there. Sometimes I just think I can talk to the screen and it worked. How are you beautiful people doing this morning? I am excited for today's show, partly because I think I finally got a good night's rest, but also because we're going to get bored today, and that's good. Boredom can be wielded or weld or carried or deployed as a superpower. And we're going to talk about how to use boredom and the role boredom plays in your success, whether it's your goals, whether it's your small business, whether it's your cause or your mission. We're going to talk about how to wield the boredom to level yourself up. Now, before that, we're going to talk about completely other news, uplifting, positive news that has nothing to do with nothing else, nothing that the media wants you to think about, everything that could uplift you as a global citizen, a global, not civilian, participant in the global community of the human species. We've got two awesome pieces of news that's just encouraging, fun, and interesting. And last but not least, certainly not least, because I've got a lot to be grateful for today. I'm super excited. Okay, cool. Super excited for some of the things we're going to share with gratitude today. Super pumped about that. So what I'm grateful for today, I want to hear from you. What are you grateful for today? I want to hear from you. What is keeping you alive? What's enriching you as you wake up? What are you so happy and grateful and full of joy to be thinking about or experiencing today? I want to hear from you on what you're grateful for today. I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. Number one, I am absolutely with my cup of gratitude, which this is the first thing I'm grateful for. At long last, our print supplier, our vendor, finally got to us all of Jessica Ojeda's gifts. So they're in. I see them over here. We're going to pack them up and deliver them to Jessica. Jessica jumped on the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. She won one of my micro contests to see who could jump over and inquire about marketing and doing a webinar on marketing. I still have to deliver the webinar on marketing, but we've been waiting for some of her things to come in. They have finally all arrived. And one of them is a cup of gratitude. So she'll be getting that, I hope, this week from us at long last. What else am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the habit of study. I don't know about you, but it always pays dividends, even on days I'm not feeling it, even on days that I'm just not in the groove. Studying, whether it was what I studied years ago or what I studied this week, the habit of studying. Jessica says, thank you, Grant. No, thank you, Jessica, for being awesome participant always and for being patient with those items coming in. Thank you. You're an amazing human. Jessica says, thank you. Well, thank you too. So happy for and grateful for the habit of study. Again, it always pays dividends. That's the second thing I'm grateful for. The third thing I'm grateful for is, again, awesome partners, Adam and Brittany. What they're doing next is they're doing a training at Catapult Lakeland with, in partnership, Chris Ann Long of Lakeland Bridge, the Bridge Group. They'll be doing that at Catapult. If you are in the area of Lakeland, come on by. Tickets are free. You get to see what's going on with Catapult. You get to hear what's going on with Adam and bookkeeping and how to create margin in your company. So I'm grateful for awesome partners like Adam and Brittany doing that. And last, if I don't have enough to be grateful for, and I hope you have a lot to be grateful for, if you don't have enough to be grateful for, then this one I'm absolutely grateful for. And I think all of you getting up today, if you're getting up today going, oh, I got to go to work, you're also grateful for this thing, and that's this. I'm grateful for meaningful work today. I'm grateful that I get to serve several people whose lives impact hundreds of people through their business, their dreams, their work. I'm very grateful for that today, and I hope you are too. So that's all in my morning cup of gratitude with my Bustelo coffee. Here's to you. What are you grateful for today? Let's see here. I'm just trying to make sure I don't have comments flowing in from other places. I just got noticed that some comments coming in other locations might not be coming through. So whatever. Boom. So what's in other news today? We're going to cover other news going on the planet that will make you just a little bit smarter. Maybe a fun fact. Here's a fun fact about Guinness Book of World Records. We covered this in the past. Where does the Guinness Book of World Records come from? Guinness, the beer, wanted people to sit around drinking beer and waxing about the highest records in the world and hopefully drink a little more Guinness while they were doing it. So they invented the Guinness Book of World Records for fun facts around beer drinking. So that's a fun fact for you. And the rest of other news will be in that vein as well. Here we go. The only country to land a spacecraft successfully be it, on Mars has been the NASA, our space administration, the National Aviation and Space Administration, something along those lines. I should know, but I don't. So America's has only been the one to successfully land landers on Mars. This month, 2 other space agencies are crowding Mars suddenly. So yes, this is Mars, 2 out of 3. The second person or the second group to land on Mars. Good morning, Gloria. Gloria stops by to say, hey, this morning, I hope you're doing good. What are you up to this morning, and why are you up already this morning, Gloria? I hope you're doing fantastic. Thanks for swinging by. That's Gloria Silvi. So the NASA Space Agency has been the only one to land. This month alone, 2 other organizations are landing on Mars. The first one is China. I'm sorry, the first one was the United Arab Emirates. With their Hope orbiter, they're actually not landing on Mars. They're arriving to Mars and orbiting with their first orbiter. United Arab Emirates opening up the Middle East. This is huge. Opening up the Middle East to space travel because A, they have a lot of money. B, I really look forward to the citizens in the Middle East to be able to look to the stars and sky for motivation, hope, and inspiration that there's other worlds out there for them. The second person or group to land on or to orbit Mars or land on Mars is China, and they will be landing. This is the first time we hope that China will have a successful lander and rover on Mars. They're modeling early NASA prototypes in how they're going to land on Mars. And the third will, of course, be the NASA Mars lander. Now, for those who haven't been paying attention, the NASA, there's going to be 3 people this month alone. This is huge to land on Mars. NASA is the Perseverance rover, and they're skipping over any orbits. Of course, we've orbited the Mars before. We don't need to orbit again. NASA's going to put their rover directly in a landing trajectory. It will be NASA's 5th Mars rover. And the cool thing about this is that they're launching the Ingenuity helicopter. This is the first time we've ever flown on Mars. Think about this. We have not sent people into harm's way yet to Mars. We will. But we have let robotics, we've let telemetry, we've let math, we've let AI. In fact, there's a period, I think, called 7 minutes of terror when our engineers in Houston or whatever it is, cannot control the lander, and it's landed by AI. AI and robotics are putting us on other worlds. If we can do this in Mars, we can do this on Jupiter. We can do this on so many other planets. And this is going to happen in our lifetime where we can put robots basically out there first, and we get to see what they see and explore these worlds before we put the single first human step on them. We need humans to go there. We need to expand into other worlds. But this robotics thing is super cool. Again, the big thing about NASA is that NASA is starting with the Ingenuity rover. So you can check out more about that. And the Ingenuity rover is actually a helicopter, and it will be the first time we learn about flight on Mars. This is going to be huge. By the time humans land on Mars, you're hearing it first. By the time humans land on Mars, we'll actually probably have a working theory on flight vehicles and drones. I don't know if you've seen the drones that you can hover on. They're like helicopter bikes. We'll be able to travel on Mars immediately at high velocity because of the power of robotics. Fantastic stuff. Inspiring. I hope you look to the stars and wonder, how could I build a business on that? Because chances are you're an entrepreneur or you're entrepreneurial and you and I want to go to Mars. I assume not stay there, but go there. That would be badass. And then come back and go to the beach because there's no surf on Mars. Lame. Here we go. In other news, number 2. The Last Supper at long last. Yes, Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper has finally reopen. I'm dropping the headline there. Boom. So the possibility of seeing Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper without waiting in line is a perk of COVID. So again, I'm not talking about COVID news as much as the ripple effects. Long story short, usually to see the Last Supper, you would often have to reserve a spot weeks or months ahead, and you get only about 15 minutes. COVID has significantly decreased attendance to Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. This is the second closure that's being opened. It's been closed since November, and before that, it was closed February 26th last year to June 9th of last year. This year, or late last year, it was closed from November till about last week. Now, you can purchase same-day tickets, wait very briefly, and then have your full 15 minutes with the Last Supper. So if anyone is feeling hinky and wants to go get a flight to Italy, you can see the Last Supper with nearly no wait. And I do recommend, because once everyone gets their vaccinations from COVID, there's going to be a massive surge in global travel. People are just going to want to stretch their legs a little bit. And we're going to go back to having crowded Venice, crowded Rome, crowded art galleries. So if you're an art nerd like me, I highly recommend you try to make that happen. So here's the link to that, just so you can see that I'm not making things up, though it's not an impossibility that I'm making things up. You can actually see, boom, right there. So last but not least, in a quick 3-minute or less update, you guys know that Marissa and I live a life of experimentation. We remind you guys of this every few weeks, and we don't have kids out of experimentation. We started businesses out of experimentation. We did Earthship School in Taos, New Mexico. We moved to the Dominican Republic. We worked in the Haitian ministry field for years and years, and we've done all of this to live a life of experiments so you could learn from our experiments and maybe accelerate your own journey to fulfillment, to purpose, and hopefully to mission, getting back to serving the needs in the world from your own passion place, right? That's what we want for you. That's what we mean when we say with State of the Spark is igniting lives of explosive significance. A few quick experiments. I experimented with eating Mediterranean over the last 2.5 weeks. As I told you from the get-go, I kicked keto because keto devolved into dirty keto, which is basically eating bacon and meat and not increasing my greens. My gut felt horrible. I had a lot of brain fog. I've been eating Mediterranean for about 2.5 weeks. And transparency and experimentation is good. I completely fell off from like middle of last week through the weekend. I'm trying to get back on this weekend, and that's where I eat very little meat and basically eat greens and veggies and Greek yogurt, basically, that sort of thing. Some fruits, sure, but you want to limit those fruits. So I've been eating Mediterranean, and some other things I have to report. Brain fog lifted almost immediately. My waistline also increased, but I'm not eating for waistline right now. So I did put on a little bit of weight, but I feel so much better. I feel clear here. I feel healthier. And I'm actually getting out to work out. So again, eating to like have 6-pack abs is one thing. Eating to feel good in your gut is another entirely. So I'm getting back on that, and I want to complete a solid 3 or 4 weeks of this. And this is in combination with kettlebell workouts. Again, this is a second experiment I'm reporting on. I run. I've done CrossFit. I've been a CrossFit coach. Me and Marissa had the habit of going to the gym nearly every day. What I'm experimenting with right now is I need more time. I need time to prep for the show. I need time to do my personal study. I'm reading this. I'm listening to Atomic Habits. I do a lot of study. And then I also need to prep for the work I actually do during the day with Spark Sites, as well as creating our courses. If you're going to pay attention to the Unsales Mastermind that I'm going to do one time only for 30 days. If you want to be a part of that cohort, hit me up. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to basically help you transform from a zero to hero in sales, and how to do sales in a way that's not cheesy, how to do what I call and what I've created called the Unsale System. That's coming up. But my kettlebell workouts, bought a kettlebell. This was on from an article from Tim Ferriss, where twice a week I do 75 kettlebell swings. The rest of the week I do a warm-up workout. I get my eating under control. That's the big thing. Get your eating under control, which is why I have the Mediterranean diet going. Get kettlebell workouts twice a week. I'm going to continue to do this. I've had the kettlebell. I first took about 2 weeks to create the habit of waking up, getting ready for my workout, carrying the kettlebell outside. I did a few warm-up swings, stretches, then got right into meditation and focused on creating my course and writing on my manuscript called The Mission. So the first purpose was to maintain my health while making more time for workouts. So I'm working on this little experiment here, just reporting back to you. Facebook user, is this Lori? Who is this? This is Marlena. Marlena says, I'm excited to travel and enjoy the empty cities. As soon as I can go, I will. Marlena, let's keep talking. I've got 2 friends now starting trips to Colombia because Colombia has some things to navigate, and you can go. I'm looking at another Guatemala trip all right now. I'm looking at the stuff right now. Another Guatemala trip through a guy who does a mission work there. And then Marissa and I are still asking ourselves, are we going to be able to do Peru? And me and Marissa haven't realigned this week on whether or not we're going to try to make that happen. So anyway, so I'm with you. Yes, absolutely. Marlena says, I'm down. Yeah, so we need to loop you in. Monet Craner is one of them doing the Colombia trip. Jesse and Jessica Simpson. Is that Action Jesse? Yeah, Action Jesse Simpson. They're doing some of the trips we've talked about to Colombia. Orbis Nieves is doing the Guatemala trip, and we'll keep you updated. But reach out to those people because if you need to stretch your legs a bit, as I know we do, reach out to those folks. Boom. So here we go. Those are other news. Hopefully you've been educated, you learned something, you elevated yourself as a global citizen, and maybe you learned a little bit from some of me and Marissa's own experiments. And I will be sharing some of our experiments with crypto. You guys know I've been in crypto for years. And now that crypto is really gaining mainstream use, I think we're going to want to start educating folks on crypto because there's still some pump and dump crazies out there regarding crypto. I want to bring sanity to some of our investing strategies with that. So we'll talk about that in future experiments. Or if you want to ask in the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group. If you're super curious about Grant, what experiments are you running? Get it and join the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group and ask your question there. I make myself readily available. If you feel like Grant's time is so limited, I really only make myself available to those who are vested in the Goals and Gratitude group and some of our coaching clients. So if you want to get involved, ask and you'll get answered there, my lovely people. So I'm open to talking about our investing. I'm open to talking about our fitness and health and the life of experimentation and why. How can we live a more ignited life? How can we live more inspired? That's what we're looking for. Let's move on with how do you wield boredom as a key to your goals? Let's talk about it. So long story short, it's this. We've been talking a little bit about mission. And no, I'm not talking about missions, though it includes that. I'm talking about mission, sense of purpose, sense of drive. I'm talking about how you can actually live a more fulfilled life with the work you do, whether it's after work or whether it's with your work, whether it's around your business or whether it's through your business, whether it's on summer trips to foreign countries or whether it's in your actual urban area. How can you live a life fulfilled with mission and purpose? What we have found is this. What I often find in my coaching and in my training is so many of you guys seem stuck on a hamster wheel. So many of you work towards a goal and purpose, as do I. This is from my own experience as well. But I am so passionate about what I do. I and my lovely wife, Marissa, we work to absolute mental exhaustion, and then we collapse. And the cycle of the hamster wheel is that we wake up and think, okay, I'll get a little bit ahead today. If I can get fractions ahead today, I'll knock it out of the park. But then we push ourselves and throw ourselves against that wall so hard that we have the same mental exhaustion. Then we come home. We wonder, what would we do with downtime? Well, we make a deal with ourselves at 8 in the morning. We're going to make a deal. If we push really hard, come 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., we're going to come home and we're going to pivot, and then we're going to work on this part of the dream and move things forward or enjoy ourselves. We daydream about what we do with downtime. But when we get our downtime, and soon as boredom starts to creep in, the habit and addiction to action, which I'm a big fan of, the habit and an addiction to action causes us to want to wave boredom away. As soon as boredom comes in, we feel like our cause, our mission, our goals and dreams aren't moving forward, so we have to do something. And in some ways, a lot of ways, if I were confessing truth, I'd say I feel this down to my bone marrow. If I sit down and let myself rest, Wait, what about my dreams? Are they really moving forward? I hardly made any progress because of the hamster wheel I was stuck on. So we're stuck in this loop. And what's worse, when we do allow ourselves to unwind really, and I don't mean like, let's just let our hair down, but like truly rest, and this boredom starts to creep in, the modern avenues to alleviate boredom are far easier than resting even. They're far easier than even being productive on the goals and dream. Like whether we were trying to rest or whether we were trying to push in, modes of boredom are easier. You don't even need to click next episode on boredom. It just auto plays, right? You don't need to load more posts on Facebook. That auto load just keeps going and it becomes so easy. And all of these avenues are engineered to trigger our positive hormones, which is fine. Again, I'm not a hater on social media. I'm not a hater on modern technology at all. But you got to be aware that they're engineered to trigger positive hormones, endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin, you name it. All of this stuff happens to us in small hits so that instead of benefiting from boredom, we're distracting ourselves from boredom in very useless, habit-forming ways. And this makes us less creative. So the problem exacerbates. In a 2014 study, they showed that getting people bored, get this, you got to hear this. In this 2014 study, causing people to be bored before asking them to undertake a creative activity makes them perform better. Hear me on this. A 2014 study showed that if you can make people bored for 15 minutes to an hour before asking them to do a creative activity, they performed better. Another study that same year found the same thing. Boredom enables test subjects to think more creatively when asked to connect three seemingly unrelated words. This is huge. Here's a link to this so that you know I'm not making this study up. Boom. There's the link in the comments right there. Check it out. I'm not making these studies up. These studies came through that if you can bore people before tackling a task, even a job that required creative thinking, they will perform better. So boredom clears your mind, gives you time to decompress, and actually increases productivity. But when you go to your go-tos, when you go to Netflix, when you go to your phone addiction, whatever that is, and again, I'm not a hater on technology. I am a hater on an undisciplined mind. When you go to your normal go-tos and you think, I'm just going to scroll for the next 15 minutes, it'll help me unwind and then I'll tackle that project. You are actually diminishing further your ability to perform relative to research that says, no, be bored. Stare at a wall and be like, I'm so bored. Don't let yourself get dragged in anything. And then by the time you do re-engage, you'll have higher cognitive and higher creative faculties. James Clear, I was reading Atomic Habits real quick. James Clear was once visited by a fitness coach. And James Clear, being an optimizer of habits and goals and high achievement, asked the coach, hey, what really makes up a high performance athlete? And this coach, he was a world famous athletic coach. He listed off the normal things, nutrition, diet, consistency, blah, 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 discipline. And then the coach paused and said this. If you're watching, stick around for this. The coach said this. The ones who can endure boredom best, boredom of the work, are always top performers. Do you have a goal? And it took you a while to start that goal. And now you've mastered the start, you've mastered the basics, and you're starting to get bored. Do you jump? Do you get away from the work? Do you like, oh, I'm so sick of solving these problems? I know I do. And then I jump away and my momentum in that habit is suddenly shot. To do the things we want to do them more creatively, but to do them long enough to get a breakthrough, we have to do it not with the pump you up, but in the boredom. You see, a problem with goals is that we use the hoorah. We use the inspiration. We use the pump you up. We use the endorphins. We use the hugs and the oxytocin. We use the high fives, which gets the serotonin going. We use the high volume of our voice to get you started. But what about when it gets tough and I'm not there to pump you up? And what about when those positive hormones fall off? Can you endure? Do you have the mental fortitude to continue? That's what we're going to talk about today. How do we perform in the boredom? Yes, you need to know how to trigger positive hormones. Absolutely. You need to know how to pump yourself up. When I do this, this is a pump you up. This actually creates this endorphin hit, and I get pumped up. When I accelerate my voice, I do that as a speaker because that actually triggers in the back of the human's mind. It actually creates like a little, like almost like goosies up your neck. When you're a speaker, you learn to do that. And you learn to modulate so that people listen in. All of this is to trigger positive listening hormones. And that's good. But you, my Spark citizen, also need to know how to perform through boredom. Let's talk about the 4 ways to perform through boredom. And these stack. I'm going to hit these pretty quickly. But for you to be able to perform through boredom, to embrace moments of boredom, and when you feel boredom come on, to develop an awareness that you're being recharged, even though you feel like, oh, I need to be doing something. And you probably should nurture that feeling. I need to be doing something. But when you feel boredom come in, you should cultivate it so that you sit there and recharge like a battery sitting in a charger, recharging. And know that in the next 15 to 20 minutes, you could jump right back into your task and have a higher cognition, a higher creativity. You need to be able to endure through boredom, thinking, oh, this isn't getting me anywhere. I feel like I'm just the legend of Sisyphus rolling that boulder up that hill, and you might be. But you need not decide to quit in the middle of the habit. You need to decide to quit or change tactics or strategies, not in the habit, because that cultivates a quitter's mind. You need to actually make that decision when you're doing your admin and your personal review at the end of the week. The habit of the admin and the personal review, that habit, you need to have endorphins attached around that. And that is when you make the decision to change tactics, not in the middle of the habit, because one is an empowering mind. The other is the quitter's mind. Let's talk about the 4 steps real quick, and I'll leave you on this. Number 1, create boredom. Create boredom. I covered it a few episodes ago. I think it was episode 127, or go back and scroll down on my feed and look for mission and creating space for mission. Go rewatch that. Rewatch the episode on creating space for mission. Some of the high points on that, I'll just hit the highlights, but go rewatch the episode on creating space for mission, because I talk about boredom at length there. Clear your schedule of all commitments, especially commitments that you're just feeling crunchy about. But even those you're like, no, I need to do this to push the mission forward. Just for an experiment, short term, you don't do this for life, but for a single full week, clear your schedule of any and all calendar events and commitments other than meeting your personal, physical, and provisional needs, like Maslow's lowest hierarchy of needs. Clear schedule. Absolutely refuse your go-tos for that period of time. No Netflix, no phone addiction. You've got to use your phone to communicate. I get it. But I'm talking about phone addiction. Books. Yes, even personal development books. Just for this week, put them down. Netflix. Yes, even the documentaries. Put them down. We're not replacing the habit yet, because if you replace the habit, right, they often say to make a new habit, replace a bad habit. That's true, but we're not working on habits right now. We're working on cultivating boredom and resilience in the middle of boredom. So clear your schedule, refuse your go-tos, just literally, just sit bored. And go back and watch the video, because tactically I have assignments and homework assignments for you on day 4, day 5, and day 6. But in general, on day 4, you're going to add in writing in your journal. I'm sorry, prayer and meditation. Day 5, you're going to add in writing in your journal. And day 6, you're going to add in like visualizing your secret counsel and then writing that in your journal. Go back to that episode. It's a powerful episode, making space for mission. So scroll down my feed and go look at that. That is how you cultivate boredom. So step 1 today was create boredom. Go back and watch the series. Step 2, start fasting. Listen, no BS. Start fasting. Fast 1 meal. A better way is to introduce intermittent fasting. And we're not talking about health and nutrition right now. We are talking about cultivating a mind. Literally, we're dealing with the neurochemistry and the knee-jerk reaction that we have when our neurochemistry says, oh, you hate being bored, go do something. Fasting helps cultivate a resilient mind when you're bored, because more often than not, many of us are overeating, and we're overeating because we're eating out of boredom. Eating out of boredom is as prevalent in our society as phone addiction out of boredom. That's true. Go observe yourself for a week. So intermittent fasting is great. It helps curb cravings. It helps you catch yourself. When you catch yourself trying to break a fast, it's cultivating a M-E-T-A, a meta-awareness of your habits. When you say, oh, I was fasting, and you reach up and just eat that thing, you're like, oh my God. Or when you go to the restaurant with friends and you committed to fasting in your heart, you show up and you order something, oh, out of obligation, I don't want it to be weird, but you order something, you are cultivating an awareness of your default responses to, in this case, fasting. I recommend doing a 16-8 fast, and that is basically, I stop eating around no later than 7 p.m. That means I go till like 11 a.m. before I eat again. It helps cultivate the awareness. Do it just twice a week. Talk to a doctor first. Yes, you need to be healthy. Yes, this is not medical advice. This is not medical or nutritional advice. This is advice on cultivating awareness. The urge to fill your food boredom is a positive hormone addiction. And when you can resist it, you're cultivating the resistance. You're basically, and not just resistance, you're not trying to prevent yourself from eating. You're trying to cultivate the awareness of the reaction. I know this is super like, whoa, esoteric. You're trying to catch your brain, and you're trying to have 2 brain thoughts and like, oh, I was going to go for that. I was going to go for that coffee. Oh, let me just develop the awareness and pause. Even if you have a rubber band, you have a knee-jerk reaction to just grab that snack. Instead of giving in order to cultivate the awareness, to have a rubber band that when you go in, snap the rubber band and pause and count to 20. Breathe, count to 20. The goal is not in this moment. Yes, we can talk about intermittent fasting regarding health and fitness some other time. But today, we're talking about wielding fasting to cultivate awareness of your knee-jerk default unconscious reactions to boredom. So if you can snap a rubber band and cause just brief enough pain to make you count to 20, you're cultivating that awareness. Then go ahead with the snack, because then the snack was obtained through will and choice, not through unconscious addiction. You're trying to cultivate this nuance. So the first one is create boredom. Go back and watch the other episode. The second one is fasting. Talk to your doctor, but give it a try. The third one is, you've heard me say this a million times. Meditate. Start with 3 minutes. Add 5 minutes. Meditation also massively cultivates the awareness. We're not talking about Zen Buddhist esoteric time traveling. Yeah, we could talk about that. We're not going to Hippieville. We're literally, which wouldn't be bad, but we're talking about cultivating awareness. And if we've done this with fasting, then add into your life using meditation to cultivate. Marlena says, great show as usual today. That's what I'm talking about. Boom. Thanks for stopping by, Marlena. You're awesome. Do meditation. Again, not necessarily for all the other benefits of having clarity, of lowering your cortisol, of increasing your positive hormones. I'm not just talking about all that. Improving your sleep, improving your breath life. I'm talking about using meditation to sit, because when you sit, even for 5 minutes, and you watch your brain drift, snap that rubber band so that you come back to thinking about the present, thinking about where you're sitting, thinking about your breathing. But as soon as your brain gets sucked into a thought train, snap that rubber band and come back to center. And just say, okay, I'm not trying to beat myself up about these drifting thoughts. I'm trying to let those thoughts come and go. I'm trying to cultivate an awareness of when my brain gets sucked into an unconscious pattern. So when your brain is in desperation mode, when your brain is in boredom mode, when your brain is in starving mode, it goes from being highly neocortex driven to being limbic driven. And when it's limbic driven, you slip into almost a self-hypnosis of unconsciousness. So fasting, including intermittent fasting, even just twice a week, meditation, these are all methods by which to create awareness. If you can create awareness, then as you go through your normal life, the rest of the day, the rest of your life, when you have a knee-jerk reaction to put a snack in your mouth that you didn't intend to, when you have a knee-jerk reaction to pick up your phone, even though you checked it 2 minutes ago, and even though you checked your Facebook feed 2 minutes ago, when you flip it up and check it again, you can catch yourself and go, no, I'm just going to stay focused on the work I'm doing. Or when it comes to boredom, and we're talking about cultivating boredom in order to create space for creativity. When you have a knee-jerk reaction to pick up your phone and distract yourself from boredom, you can pause and go, no, I'm going to recharge here for just 3 to 5 minutes. It's a form of meditation. So if you can sit there for 3 to 5 minutes, and instead of jumping to your phone addiction, which again, I'm fine with to a degree, we live in our phones, I'm fine with that, but not at the cost of some of these micro moments where you could recharge your brain for boredom. Fast, so we said create boredom, fast to create the awareness and cultivate an awareness of when you're in an unconscious zombie-like reaction. The same with meditation. When your brain's drifting, you're trying to cultivate your brain back, and what you're trying to do is create an awareness of when your brain is moving out of neocortex to limbic and just get sucked into these knee-jerk reactions. Last but not least, once you've mastered the ability to fast twice a week at the drop of a hat and just say, no, I'm going to fast and I'm going to feel better. My gut's going to clear out a little bit. And I'm going to cultivate some mental resilience. And all mental resilience is awareness and pausing before you jump to some unconscious habit like snacking or like picking up your phone. The same thing with meditation. So that's supposed to build up to this. Fasting positive hormones. Once you've been able to fast, even intermittent fasting, just a single meal from evening dinner to lunch, twice a week, consistently or semi-consistently. Once you've been able to catch yourself with your phone addiction at work and put it down and go, no, I should check my phone just 5 minutes ago. I should just keep going with my task at hand. Unless it's research, is it really contributing? So the positive hormones, once you've been able to create some of this mental resilience, you can then start applying a type of fasting positive hormone addiction. It's one thing to say, I'm starting a new habit and I'm going to pump myself up by will and by choice. That is using positive hormones to your benefit. But instead of just being addicted to positive hormones by using Netflix, by using phone addiction, by using any other negative habit that you want to break, you can wield boredom the same way. And you can say, oh, I know that I am, let's just get rid of the word addiction because there's a stigma. I'm not addicted. I can choose to do this. I just really like it. Let's say you drink too much in the evening. I have a small drink of wine nearly every evening. But let's say I was like a 2 or 3 glass of wine guy and I just wanted to break that habit. Instead of trying to break the stigma called an addiction, I could simply say, I'm going to fast the positive hormones I get. This addiction I have, this positive hormones I have from this. And I'm just going to fast that thing to prove to myself and cultivate mental resilience. You can apply this to anything where you can identify now that you have positive hormone addiction on that thing and you're using it not to edify yourself. You're using it to distract or procrastinate yourself. Basically, it's a form of resistance to the very thing you said you wanted. Have you ever experienced resistance at the 1 yard line to the thing you wanted and you're so close? And we do this thing called self-sabotage, but really it's giving into procrastinations because there's this final surge of effort you need. That's all we're doing is building up boredom and being okay with boredom because boredom makes us confront the things we're avoiding. Boredom makes us admit to ourselves, oh, I've got the space in mind and I realize I'm totally procrastinating that sales call. I'm totally procrastinating doing that bookkeeping. I'm totally avoiding this one client who I should wrap up with. Have you ever been there? Tell the truth, man. You've been there and I've been there. Brittany says, breaking the alcohol habit right now with a 75-day alcohol fast. Now, Brittany, is this 75 hard? Are you doing the 75 hard? Now, and Brittany then says, I have intermittent fasted for a long time now. And yes, I can testify. Adam and Brittany are very good with intermittent fasting, or Brittany has been consistent with intermittent fasting. But I'd like to also know, Brittany, if you're doing 75 hard, because I've been toying with 75 hard, which does call for an alcohol fast for 75 days. Is alcohol bad in and of itself writ large? I don't think so. Benjamin Franklin, what did he say? Beer is proof that God wants us to be happy. But it's good to know that nothing has control of you. And the best way to do that is something like 75 hard. A good way to do that is to fast food. A good way to do that is, once you have the ability to fast, go into your life and anything that reeks of an avoidance strategy to procrastinate good work. And you can see this when you try to create a space of boredom and you cannot sit in boredom. Whether it's food, alcohol, Netflix, phone addiction, porn, you name it, whatever it is. Are these things in and of themselves like inherently bad? Who's to say? I'm not to say. But I do know cultivating a quitter's mind, cultivating a procrastinator's mind, cultivating a mind that's more addicted to the next serotonin dump, which is basically a drug addiction of its own kind. Instead of being able to sit in yourself and sit with yourself and face your own thoughts. I do know that that is bad. Brittany says, yes, it is 75 hard, but with the intention to fix the alcohol habit and strengthen my mental discipline. This is exactly what we're talking about. Because alcohol as an unconscious reaction, does double damage. Not only are you weakening your mental discipline by not saying no to yourself, right? You're also adding alcohol to that, which is numbing any other willpower you might have had in the first place. And so you probably drop that willpower. So this is a powerful 1-2 punch that Brittany's doing to cultivate mental discipline while also basically cleaning out her brain. And I don't know if you know this, but meditating actually cleans the mind. Deep REM sleep actually cleans the mind. And a lot of people, when they drink, and I don't know if this is true of Brittany, but I know it's true of me. A lot of people, when they drink just a little too much, it actually disturbs their sleep, especially their REM cycles, and your brain can't clean itself. So this is like a huge double whammy that Brittany is doing. So let me leave you with this one quick way to cultivate this. So I've given you clear any commitments from your calendar for a week. Go back to my previous show about creating space for mission. Fast, just practice intermittent fasting even twice a week. You're going to feel great, but you're going to create some mental discipline and you're going to be able to sit in boredom. Meditation, sit with your thoughts. If you can do those 3 things, then you can then apply that to any other place in your life where you have an addiction to positive hormone bumps. Again, we want positive hormones in our lives, of course, but we don't want to be victim to being addicted to them, because boredom can greatly increase creativity, and that's what we're trying to do. So let me give you this one activity, and then I'll leave you with this. Phone checking. I'm not going to say we're all addicted to our phones, but we are addicted to checking our statuses. I want you to get a rubber band, or if your wife has a hair tie or something to this effect, and yes, we're going to do the rubber band thing. Whenever you feel the urge to pick up your phone, whether it's to research a topic, whether it's to distract yourself, we're not going to do that. We're just going to try to create awareness around it. So whenever you grab your phone, snap a rubber band, set the phone down, count to 20, not 10, count to 20. Then ask yourself, or have a spouse or a partner ask you, if the thing you're checking was checked within the last 10 minutes already, and does it contribute to the work or the thing you were about to do? My wife and I check the news when we do coffee. Our purpose there is to do coffee and share the news with ourselves and maybe percolate any thoughts or talk about anything we need to do. It's intentional. Still snap the rubber band, ask yourself the question, and then even if you need to, continue with checking your status. But the goal here is to cultivate awareness in order to make room for your mental discipline. Listen, that's all I've got for you today. I am going to go have coffee with my lovely bride. Thank you so much for stopping by today, jumping on the show, learning about how to wield boredom to increase creativity. Go read the links on the studies we just quoted and other strategies on how to cultivate boredom, strengthen your mind, make you more resilient in the things you're doing. But why? ultimately to accomplish the mission, State of the Spark, and igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own.